M100 ist eine Chiffre, ein Geheimnis.
Das ist ein Experiment mit offenem Ausgang.
Spannende Leute an einem wunderbaren Ort.
Nur Mitglieder der schwatzenden Klasse.
Absolutely first class.
Eine Generalprobe.
It was a challenge to journalists.
Potsdam und Medien zusammenbringen.
Das ist eine Zukunftsmarke Potsdams.
I've had a terrific time. Thank you.
M100 Sanssouci becomes a stage for 100 spin doctors, leading editors-in-chief and journalists. The questions: how deep is the EU's crisis? Is this the end of the European idea? And what is the role of the media in this context? Meet the hosts, the two M100 patrons, Lord George Weidenfeld and the Lord Mayor of Potsdam, Jan Jakobs. Along with another Potsdamer, Matthias Döpfner, they represent the leadership of M100. Confidence in the enlargement policy on the one hand, a swan song for the multicultural idea in Europe on the other hand. Debates get heated even at the opening of the colloquium in the Royal Theatre Neues Palais.
European integration, in the sense of membership in the European Union, is a very successful, probably the most successful way we have seen so far to create political and economic stability. We have to acknowledge that the very successful process of transformation in Central and Eastern Europe was certainly not possible without the clear European perspective.
I was extremely interested by the remarks made by Vice President Verheugen, and I would agree with him over one thing and one thing only, which is that the EU is in a state of very serious crisis. He appears to be baffled by this. We Eurosceptics saw it coming a long time ago. He puts it down to various things like anxiety about the future. I would say it's rooted in a crisis of legitimacy, democratic legitimacy.
Euro-optimists versus Euro-pessimists. Still on their way to their workshops, participants have plenty to talk about. Workshop number 1 in the Marble Palace is discussing the European crisis. Topics are Europe's relationship with the US, the failed European Constitution, and Turkey's EU entry.
Das war schon bemerkenswert, wie sich der Ton verändert hat. Wenn Sie das vergleichen zu Diskussionen über Europa vor 5 Jahren oder vor 10 Jahren, dann war sehr viel Optimismus, sehr viel Begeisterung im Spiel und gestern hat eindeutig die Kritik überwogen.
European identity and the future of the European culture. These are the main issues of the passionate debates in workshop number 2 in the Orangery, headed by Frank Schirmacher, the publisher of the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung.
Was ist unsere Gesellschaft? Wie identifizieren wir uns? Und wir leben alle mittlerweile in multikulturellen Gesellschaften. Wir Deutschen haben einen großen Türkenanteil, die in London, die haben einen sehr großen Inder- und Bangladeschi-Anteil, Pakistani-Anteil und so weiter. Also sind die Gesellschaften nicht mehr so homogen, wie sie früher vielleicht mal waren. Also insofern sind das wichtige Fragen, die hier diskutiert worden sind.
Workshop number 3 meets in Castle, Sizilienhof. Roger Köppel from Switzerland and the other participants are trying to resolve the question: are the media partly responsible for the European crisis? And are they perhaps in a crisis themselves?
Fazit würde ich sagen, Punkt 1, Skepsis gegenüber der Unabhängigkeit der Journalisten. Man hat das Gefühl gehabt, in der ganzen EU-Diskussion habe sich die journalistische Szene zu stark von Brüssel vereinnahmen lassen, waren zu weit weg von der Sensibilität der Leser. Punkt 2, Gratiskultur in der Medienbranche, also Informationen, für die man nicht mehr bezahlen will, Gratiszeitung, in der Zukunft Internet, wird man noch Geld verdienen können. Da eine gewisse Skepsis, aber ich habe in bester schweizerischer Tradition eine kleine Abstimmung gemacht am Schluss und die Mehrzahl der Leute war doch der Meinung, auch in Zukunft würden die Leute noch Geld ausgeben für Zeitungen. So gesehen bin ich ganz beruhigt.
Despite their differing view on Europe, the participants nevertheless celebrate together at a gala dinner in the Neuen Kammern next to Castle Sanssouci. Guests are, amongst others, the Italian politician and author Mario D'Urso and 2 Potsdam residents, Friede Springer and Günther Jauch. The highlight of the evening is the presentation of the M100 Sanssouci Media Award to Lord Norman Foster. In his laudation, Professor Wilhelm Vossenkuhl honors him as an architect and designer of superlatives. Publisher Hubert Burda presents the prize to Lord Norman Foster, who is the first laureate of the European Media Prize.
Deeply honoured, but also pleased really for the role of architecture, design, the importance of infrastructure, and the way, the acknowledgement that plays an important part in all of our lives. So in that sense, I welcome the initiative, not specifically because it was me, but because it was a recognition for everybody involved in seeking to raise standards.
Like any stylish gala event, the evening ends with an elegant dinner. Fried lobster, fillet of veal in a pine nut crust and wild berry yogurt ice cream. A menu fit for Frederick the Great.
Good morning.
Baroness Helena Kennedy is the mistress of ceremony on the second day of M100. The term used most frequently, yet again, is crisis. But this can also be seen with a smidge of British humour, as demonstrated by the former European Minister Denis McShane.
And yet, there I was in the election campaign in my own constituency, and a nice man came up to me and said, "Oh, you think we should be in Europe, Denis? Denis, we're Yorkshire. We don't want to be in Europe." And I said, "Look, I'm terribly sorry, but if by being in Europe you mean the European Community, the European Union, we've been in it for 32 years. Oh, have we? Oh, they don't give us the information, do they?" So that's what I appeal to all the newspaper chiefs here. Just give us the information about Europe and we'll make sense of it. Thank you very much.
Quo vadis Europe? As the relentless debates demonstrate, this question has yet to be answered. M100 is only the beginning of an open discourse on the future of our continent.
It was very interesting 2 days because we had a strong argument, quite big disagreements, and that makes it more interesting. You start to see different points of view. People were not too polite. I mean, they weren't rude, but they wanted to have an argument.
The discussion was very live. The ideas were very impressive. I heard a lot of new views.
The participants, quite a few people from the UK, quite a few people Austria, Hungary, Poland, Switzerland. And it was very good that top people were giving the presentations.
I've been to many of these events which have been frankly meaningless because no one has really wanted to listen. But I think that in this place and at this time, people really do want to listen and they need to listen to each other.
The media has to examine itself and do a better job of informing the people within the nation states.
We live in our own little hothouses, and there's so many things to discuss at the moment about the future of Europe that for us to meet and talk, even for a limited period of time, it would be nice if it was longer, but even for a limited period of time, it's like being able to breathe fresh air again.
With the premiere of M100 hardly over, its coordinators are already planning the follow-up event. Next year's date is set.
Man hat ja immer bei der Vorbereitung einer solchen Veranstaltung so ein bisschen ein mulmiges Gefühl, ob das denn wohl klappt vom Organisatorischen her, ob das dann auch von der Zusammenstellung der Leute her funktioniert. Und ich muss sagen, das Organisatorische, das Rahmenprogramm, alles hat wunderbar funktioniert. Der Galaabend war, finde ich, gelungen.
Es war natürlich einfach schön für uns, einfach auch zu merken, okay, dass eben die Atmosphäre und das Ganze drumherum, was eben um die Diskussionen drumherum gesponnen ist, dass es einfach Spaß gemacht hat, inspiriert hat und eben vielleicht auch schon Spaß macht auf das nächste Mal.
On this note of optimism that this dress rehearsal will lead from an experiment to an institution into a tradition, I wish you a very good journey back and au revoir, and send some suggestions to us for the future.